Harry's Wife, Part 101.14. Queen's Coffin. The Grip of Doom. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Yesterday, Queen Elizabeth II's coffin was moved from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Hall, where she now lies in state, allowing members of the public to pay tribute to her. The procession of the coffin from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Hall was streamed, and of course with it came all the regalia and ceremony that is entirely appropriate for this esteemed monarch. Following the arrival and the public procession to Westminster Hall, the Queen now lies in state, and at Westminster Hall there was attendance by the extended royal family, other members of the nobility, politicians, and so forth. It provided us with another opportunity to see Harry's wife's narcissism in full effect. There'll be those who would, and in my view quite rightly, form the view that she ought not to have been there after her behaviour. Quite simply, as Duchess of Overseas, who wants nothing to do with the royal family save use its name to make money, and the piss-poor manner by which she has conducted herself in relation to them, and especially the deceased monarch, she does not deserve to attend. However, it is evident that it would draw more attention to her were she to be excluded from the procession and attendance at Westminster Hall than having her attend. And whilst, of course, it will stick in the craw of many to have her there, the fact is that if she'd been excluded, she would have made such a song and dance of it through her PR machinery that it would have overshadowed the lying in state of Her Majesty, and in the circumstances, that is something that undoubtedly King Charles would not countenance. Not only for Charles is it good facade management to allow her to attend by saying, let's look at a period of conciliation and now is not the time for there to be arguments, but simply let's get on with it, but also to avoid drawing too much attention to her. Were she excluded, she would have utilised that to her advantage, driven by her narcissism, complaining that it's another act of racism, complaining that they've got it in for her, of course completely incapable of recognising that any such decision is entirely merited, given her stance, behaviour, and outlook. With all of that stated, there was fantastic coverage of the procession, but it provides us with a snippet of material that allows further observations to be made about Harry's wife's narcissism. I'm going to play the clip for you now, and then I'm going to provide you with my observations. It's only a short clip. You can watch it, form your own conclusions as to what is going on, and then I'll provide you with the narrative, breaking it down. Here comes the footage. We have the Duke of Norfolk discharging his ceremonial duties, short bow to His Majesty King Charles III, and offsets everybody. Nobody holding hands, you'll see. King Charles III and the Queen Consort walking slowly along, solemnly, not holding hands. The stoic Princess Royal, Princess Anne with her husband, Sir Timothy Lawrence, not holding hands. Prince Andrew wandering along, waddling a little bit like an angry penguin, nobody to hold hands with even if he wanted to, and who could be blamed for not wanting to hold hands with that individual. They walk along, drinking in the scene, remaining suitably respectful, not touching one another. We then have Prince Edward and Sophie, Countess of Wessex, not holding hands. Prince and Princess of Wales, not holding hands, but it's the gruesome twosome. And, of course, they're holding hands. And bringing up the rear, the Earl of Snowdon and Peter Phillips, not holding hands. And there we see them leaving. And of that group of 13 or so people, 2 had to hold hands, didn't they? Why? Well, first of all, Harry's wife has no sense of accountability. She does what she wants, within certain confines of the facade management. Nobody else is holding hands. Nobody in the onlookers is holding hands. Nobody has their arms around them. Nobody's silently snuffling away crying. Everybody is demonstrating respect, remaining quiet and sombre and solemn. But not Harry's wife. Oh no. She has to ensure that she's different. Some of you may remember Sesame Street, where there's a segment, one of these kids is doing their own thing. That's Harry's wife all over. She has to do her own thing because she's Harry's wife. And driven by her sense of entitlement, lack of boundary recognition, lack of emotional empathy, and absence of accountability, she has to do something different. It is not an appropriate situation to be holding hands. Undoubtedly, someone must have told her that, and she can see around her that nobody else is. But she ignores all of that because her narcissism is doing this in her subconscious. Manage your facade, control Harry. Manage the facade, control Harry. And therefore, out comes the grip of doom. That shortly after they set off walking, the appendage extends itself and grips his hand. Harry, if his balls weren't being carried in his wife's purse, ought to have shook it off and basically hissed at her, "Not now." But he doesn't, because he's in the sustained devaluation, and Ginger Bollocks is cowed and browbeaten into this position by his wife, and therefore he just goes along with it, prodded, pulled, grabbed, manhandled by her. We've seen the footage time and time again. Thus, driven by her narcissism, she asserts control over Harry by holding on to his hand as he's the intimate partner primary source. Don't think that it's about comfort, although she might say it is as such. It isn't. It's about controlling him and drawing fuel from him and managing the facade of, we are so in love and so together. Even though, as I've mentioned before, you don't have to keep telling us this. That demonstrates how her narcissism is not able to read the situation adequately because it causes her to repeatedly engage in this appearance of being so in love and wanting one another so much. This behaviour is disrespectful, but it's unsurprising coming from her. It's demonstrative of her sense of entitlement, her lack of accountability, her absence of emotional empathy, her need to control Harry, and, of course, for the purposes of managing that facade. Nobody else is engaged in this behaviour, just her. It's unsurprising, it is disrespectful given the circumstances, and whilst, of course, she ought not to have been there, even when she is, her narcissism has to make it all about her. Her brand of narcissism is such that it can't even cause her to fit in by keeping her hand off Harry. And part of that is the uncertainty of control is such because she remains, in effect, on enemy territory. Nobody wants anything really to do with her. And Harry is her only platform, if you will. So she has to keep hold of him to maintain that control, because everywhere around her, she's facing threats to control. For instance, the Princess of Wales wants nothing to do with her. The Prince of Wales wants nothing to do with her. Sophie, Countess of Wessex, wants nothing to do with her. Indeed, it would have been so entertaining to have been a fly on the inside of the car when they shared a journey together. Undoubtedly, she'll have blanked her or given her even a death stare, as she once did, I think, inside Westminster Abbey. This short footage encapsulates again aspects of Harry's wife's narcissism and is a very useful teaching tool. I'm H.D. Tudor. Thank you for listening.